Oh, go ahead. So, of course, as I mentioned at the very beginning, and I'll close here, but the pandemic, of course, has interfered with a lot of things that we do on a daily basis, especially when it comes to interfacing with the public, because, you know, as a fire department, that's one of the things that we enjoy doing, because it's something outside the scope of what we do every day in terms of handling emergencies, but we do enjoy getting out and doing the public education discussions with the schools and having children come by the stations, but we haven't been able to do that for over a year. But even with that, we have been able to do a few things, utilizing of course, our strict protocol to make sure that everybody safe. And sometimes things just fall into our lap. As you can see to the lower left-hand corner of the slide here are some pictures from the eagle that was rescued. Was actually first spotted by a couple of young men, and they brought to the attention of the fire department or the fire station down the street, and the crews went down and they got the eagle, and they were able to get it rehabbed, and then it was released back into the wild. So that particular incident caught international news attention, and I've got the statistics here. It's actually mind-blowing the number of people that story was seen by. 1.4 billion people, $1.4 billion people across the globe heard or at least clicked on that story. So that's like a sixth of the entire world's population. So pretty incredible mileage on that. And then you can see some of the other things that we've done. We had Santa Claus come by and brought some stuffed animals that we were able to give to children in the back of our ambulances. And then in the lower right-hand corner, most recently, we had kind of behind-the-scenes presence at the Super Bowl. You can see our 2 mass casualty buses there, which are really state-of-the-art pieces of equipment, which will be on display here, hopefully at a next 1 or 2 board meetings. We'll have all that equipment there, so everybody will be able to see it in person. But they were at the Super Bowl providing coverage just in the event that something happened. All right, next slide. Is that the end? Yeah. All right, so that concludes what we've been doing over the last several months in fire rescue.
All right, thanks, Chief. Mark, I think you're up next.
Yes, it's amazing to see how far we've come in the last 10 years. We used to be the county that people came to get trained and then go someplace else to work out their career. Now we're the place to be. We're the example. We're the go-to for innovation and new things going on. It's great to see that we've stepped up to that level. It's really, really awesome stuff. So a couple of things. First off, for my particular team, OPM, what I would ask of all of you is, as we go from the good to great, a lot of what we find as performance gaps are not necessarily around process as much as they are around communication. So the gathering, delivery, moving around of information becomes more and more important. So an example of that, particularly with our customer service team and media relations communications, if you have information that you know will be or could possibly be important either to our organization, to our citizens, please let us know that. I'll give you an example of that. Internally here, if you are moving to a different phone location or an extension or anything of that nature, our customer service folks need to know that so that they can direct calls to you properly. Otherwise, it makes us all look bad if we're trying to chase you around. So there should be someone in your group that handles updating directories and that. Another a bigger piece here, we found out that Senate Bill 60 is potentially going to pass, and that really takes away the ability for folks to anonymously submit code complaints. That has a big impact on us, on a lot of areas of our organization. Pat Phillips brought that to our attention in code. So those type of things we need to know about ahead of time. That way we can plan for them, and that just makes it a smoother transition for that information to get not only to our folks internally, but then of course to our citizens. So I would just ask, as we go from good to great, that we pay a lot of attention to that. We do have a map available called Communicating Processes. It's available on the tools section of our internal website. And if you walk through that, it talks about the content of the message, who it should go to, how it should get there, when to do it, and then the feedback loop to make sure it was understood. And if you want a good example of how that works well, if you look at the Inside Pasco interview with Eric, he talks about how he's done that in his branch, and he's done a real nice job with the message and making sure messages are understood. So give you a real life example of how that's working. I was asked to talk a little bit about linking the strategic plan to the business planning and budget, since we're in that cycle now. So I'll walk you through a few things. Some of you have seen this before, but we'll just call it a reminder. If you take it from the top down, we've committed to become Florida's premier county, and I would say Florida's premier county government, that being measured by or validated when we can sit and say we've got the Baldrige and the Sterling criteria nailed, and we've got those awards. That's really the validation of that. Not about the awards, but that's the validation of that level. So if we say, well, how do you actually create a premier county? We have 4 big blocks or pillars that begin to define that. So we've got to create a thriving community, enhance quality of life, stimulate economic growth, and improve organizational performance. Those are the big blocks or pillars that we have to pay attention to and address in order to become a premier county. So, next slide. So let's drill that down a little bit further. And a lot of you have seen this example before, because it really is a matter of asking, all right, if that's what we have to do, how do we do that? What does that need to look like? So if you start on the left-hand side of the diagram, this is just a simple example that was done in the current plan by Public Works. So if we say that create a thriving community is the overall objective, then the question is, so how do we do that? How do we create a thriving community? And we've determined that there are 4 other big blocks that fall underneath that, and those are the strategic goals. And this one, 1.1, is really the one that addresses flooding overall. So if you are on the team that has the work that is applied to addressing flooding, the next question you ask is, okay, so how best can we prevent flooding? And that then goes to the green box, which is your strategies. And those are the next bite smaller of the work required to achieve that goal. So as you look at that now, you're asking the question, so how do we do that? Then how do we do that? And you keep working it down. And then if you're in Public Works, your business plan should begin to answer the question, what programs, actions, or activities do we need to have in place to achieve these strategies? And which ones are going to give us the best return over this next year or 4 years as the horizon happens to be. So as you are building your business plan, you should be able to look at the actions and activities in that plan, and the answer should be to the question, am I working to achieve the strategies in goal 1.1 in this case? The answer should be yes, and I can show that through my process measures. So hopefully that makes some sense there. It all begins to link. Then when you look at the far right, the 4 examples, so a lot of them are large pipe replacements. One of them is to restore maintenance levels to culverts and so forth. Those should have individual program measures. And then you've got a team that does that work, and they each have a role to play. So for example, if you look at the last one there where it says the Jarvis Pipe Replacement Program or project, there's a team that does that work. Each person has a role to play. And when we are premier, we are going to be able to ask the folks who are on that team how the role they played helped us to achieve the goal and our strategic plan. They're going to realize that. They're going to see how it rolls up through that line. And I'll give you an example of how that works. And some of you have heard this before. When I was on a Sterling examination team to an elementary school, one of the things you have to do on that team is you have to interview everybody in that organization. And the last group we wanted to interview was the group that came in and did the overnight janitorial work, cleaning up the school. And so as we interviewed them, we asked them, do you know what the mission and vision is of the school? They knew it. Do you know what role you play or how you contribute to that? The leader of that team, and by the way, just as a side note, they didn't speak English. Didn't matter. We had someone on the team that was able to translate for us, but this is how significant this is. The leader of that crew said, I'll give you an example. When we clean the bathrooms, we clean them doing this, and this. We know that if we do this job right, the students aren't going to get sick in this bathroom. If they are not sick, they're going to be in the classroom. If they're in the classroom, they're going to learn. And if they learn, the school is going to get better grades. And if they get better grades, it's going to be a top tier school. They literally could take from the work they do all the way back up to what the school overall was attempting to accomplish. That's enlightenment. That's where we want to go as an organization. So next slide. And so what we have to do then is we have to measure this. We start by looking at the work from the vision all the way down through individual contributors and being able to measure what we do all the way back up the line. Now, the goal teams are currently doing that. I'm very pleased with the progress, and we are just about to have our first in-process check with each of the 4 objectives. And I think we're going to be in really good shape as we move forward with our strategic plan. So just to give you an example of some things you might want to look at on the next slide, again, some of the performance gaps when you go from good to great are very subtle. They are called blind spots in most organizations. In fact, the reason that top tier organizations call Sterling in to examine them is to find the blind spots, the things that they can't see, even if they already are a high performing organization. So I'll give you an example of what some of this might look like. For us specifically, the #1 internal SWOT weakness and the #1 employee engagement survey theme was lack of cooperation between functions, departments, and or branches. So since we know that, we realize that there's some things we can begin doing. A couple of the things we've done already, first off, was the composition of the goal teams themselves, cross department, cross branch, cross function, just to demonstrate that ultimately we're all connected, we're all moving in the same direction, and we can in fact work well together and even better cooperating with each other and working to accomplish these things. And then we talked about system-wide processes and procedures. You heard Bob and I talk about that, and we began to do that in the TLM. We'll continue to do that because there again, it demonstrates that we're all moving in the same direction. It's like we talked about with the leadership. It's how we agreed to lead, the things we agreed to do, the same across the organization. So again, some very subtle responses to an opportunity for improvement that we've determined. Another one, communication gaps between leadership and the organization. You're always going to have that to some extent, but that doesn't mean you just ignore it. It means you address it. And it was that was the #2 in the internal SWOT weaknesses. So we've got the Pasco picture, what you're watching right now, the way that we're communicating what we used to through our quarterly meetings, so that we do a better job of making sure everybody gets information throughout the organization. There's the Ask Me Anything with Dan, where it's a very transparent conversation. You don't see that in many organizations. The Pasco podcast, which while we don't have 1 billion followers yet, well, we're still working on that one, Scott. Maybe we put an eagle in there, we can get that. Right? Yeah. But we do have an international audience, and interestingly enough, iHeartRadio has just agreed to pick up our podcasts, so that's pretty darn cool. Again, Pasco on the map. So that, and then of course inside Pasco, what I referred to there with the interview with Scott, Kathy's up next on that. That demonstrates or gives examples of how we're doing the things that we're talking about here, what it really looks like at the branch department level. So we are moving forward. We're doing a lot of great things, and we're going to continue that. We are on track, on target with our development of the goals and the strategies. And again, very, very good to see that. We've had several counties from the outside that are watching very closely what we do. A couple of them are actually copying it as we speak. So we'll get after them when they finish it and then don't give us credit, but that's okay. We're the place to go to, and it's good stuff. So thank you.
All right, thanks. And next we have up Sally Sherman, Development Services.
1 second, Sally. Start talking.
The slides are coming.
I promise.
Thank you for joining us at Pasco's Picture Town Hall this morning. I'd like to take an opportunity to give you an overview of some of the things that are going on in Development Services Branch. First off, we'll introduce and talk about our Office of Economic Growth. We have a phenomenal team, and some of the important projects that they brought to our community includes Insurance, which is going to occupy over 10,000 square feet. And it's going to bring in 130 high-paying full-time jobs for our citizenry. We're also going to be expediting their permitting, and this project is a redevelopment project that is located off of Route 19. Another important project is Santana. They're going to be occupying our old Target off of State Road 54. They have over 15,000 square feet of building and going to be bringing in over 875 high-paying full-time jobs for our area as well. This was approved by our county commission in this year, and they're going to be receiving incentives totaling over $200,000. But what's going to be important is what they're bringing to our community with jobs for our citizenry. One of the biggest coups we've secured in a while is Moffitt Cancer Center. This is really going to put us on the map and bring in other services to support Moffitt and their center in looking at developing processes and improving cancer research. And this was approved by our commission, and the commission felt so strongly about this. Over a number of years, they're going to be receiving incentives totaling over $25 million. Now, one of the important things to keep in mind about those incentives, we are performance-based, so we just don't write checks. They have to actually perform and show everything has been accomplished before funds are distributed. They're going to be developing over the long run over 24 million square feet in a part of a business park that's being developed. The first building that they're going to build is going to be 128,000 square feet, and it's going to be a multi-story laboratory and medical research building. That's really, again, putting Pasco on the map for being a partner in research and laboratory services for cancer. Next, we're going to talk about planning and development. Planning and development has done an outstanding job by going out and seeking grant funding in the amount of $754,000. And this grant is going to help with assessment of our vulnerable areas that will enable us to mitigate risk and develop strategies for being resilient for hurricanes. They're also going to be kicking off the first year of a multi-year project, which is our comprehensive plan. When you talk about the comprehensive plan, it's similar to that of our strategic plan. It is the overarching guide for how we move forward with development. So it's an important tool, a critical tool that is going to be vetted very deeply, not only by individuals in the communities, also our planning board and our county commission. The VOPH, Village of Pasadena Hills, they'll also be working on that comprehensive plan for that development, as well as continuing to update the financial plans associated with that project. Another initiative that is being looked at this year is the 2021 Mobility Fee Study Update. We're taking an opportunity to look at our mobility fees to see if there's a change that's needed, and if so, what changes are needed and how do we move forward with that. So this is a very important piece for us as well. We're kicking off the phase 1 part of our land development code rewrite. That is an extensive process. And if you look at our comprehensive plan, you're actually taking components of that and drilling down as you rewrite the land development code. It now contains, you have 2 3-inch binders. That's what is our land development code at this time. we're looking at consolidating that, making it more user-friendly, making it more adaptable to how we're operating within the community and developing projects. Multifamily, if you've had an opportunity to listen to our board meetings, you know that that is a big issue, that we're evaluating multifamily and how to appropriately place multifamily. And when I say multifamily, you're talking about apartments mainly, but also multifamily includes your condos, your townhouses. And multifamily also takes into consideration a lot to do with affordable housing for our workforce as well. So that's those are some of the big things that are going on in planning and development. For building and construction services, we're kicking off a building fee study. We're ready, poised, and waiting to go. We're just trying to finish up a few things associated with getting the agreements approved to be signed off. So that's an initiative that is very important to us as we move forward with serving our development community, our construction community. We're looking at seawalls and dock designs. That's also dealing with resiliency to an extent, but this is also a tool that we're putting in place to help with our construction industry when they look at seawalls and dock design. So we're getting ready to kick off that as well. We're continuing with software enhancements for our Acela system. We have a strong team that's looking at everything with a more critical eye than has been in the past to make sure that we get this tool in place, not only to help our citizenry, but also to help our team have an effective work tool to process the information that we're receiving. Customer service and process improvement is ongoing. We have kicked off a number of initiatives, not only within our branch, but we're working across branches to improve our customer service, because what I keep reminding the team members and sharing with all, when an individual have a concern about a project or have a question, they don't say development services, or they don't say public services, they say Pasco County. So we need to embrace that and be able to work cross-functionally with everyone so that we can keep in mind what our ultimate goal is, providing customer excellence, and that's by continuing to improve our processes and working to enhance our customer service. Implementing our new building code was also an important initiative that's going on right now. The new building codes went into effect on December 31st, and so we had a lot of contractors trying to get in permitting so that they can still be held accountable under the old code. And now we're implementing the new code. That transition is going extremely well. So because we did some communication to let the building community know that the codes were coming. They also know, as a part of their industry, changes that are coming forward. And this happens about every 3 years. So it's not like an ongoing every year change, because it is an insurmountable amount of work to get new codes implemented in building. Demolition of unsafe structures. We're moving forward with that as a part of our HRE team, and also as a part of our minimum standards group. Everyone's working really well together to move forward with taking down homes in the community that not only are they unsafe, but they are also sometimes occupied for unsavory behavior. So this is important to us in our community to continue to move forward with that. And we're developing SOPs and processes that will make everything flow much smoother with that aspect of it. And another important piece for building and construction services is we've been listening to our Tampa Bay Builders Association, as well as our contractors, and looking at plans on file. we were still a little old school with paper plans on file. We're now working with the team at eHub and our SQ designers to develop plans on file. That's going extremely well. We've had several positive meetings where we're now picking out how we want our program to work. So we're excited about that moving forward sooner rather than later. At this point, I'd like to take a moment and spotlight some of the outstanding things that go on behind the scenes with our team. Our building and construction services department adopt a classroom during the recent holiday season, and it's a Head Start class. And they took an opportunity to serve approximately 41 children with gifts for the holidays. And that's one of those things that's so important. And this is 4 and 5 year olds. And we know that people are still dealing with the stresses from COVID, and families sometimes still don't have because of all the layoffs and things associated with that. So they did an outstanding job of, supporting, adopting that classroom and supporting them. And so I know the teacher and the students were very appreciative. Code enforcement. This is one of those areas that, along with the entire branch for development services, since we are code related and have to enforce codes and regulations, it sometimes becomes challenging because there's also a lot of education that goes with it. And our code enforcement team has done an outstanding job in some cleanups. And this is just showing you where they removed over 167 tons of debris. Now, when we talk about these cleanups, this is something that is shared. Other branches, like Mike and his team, assist in those efforts, and a number of the branches provide support for that to happen. We do sign sweeps. People just don't understand that those little signs that they put out on the side of the road, we call them snipe signs, they're really illegal, and they create hazards. Say, for example, we experienced some winds the last weekend. I think it was some strong winds, and those become projectiles. And if they're not, if they're right there on the side of the road, really in county right of way, in most instances, or state right of way, they can become projectiles and create accidents. So we have the awesome honor of removing those. So recently the team removed over 1,631 signs. I know personally, I was driving down County Road 19 and this weekend, and I was so tempted to stop and just pull up a bunch of signs, but I figured I wasn't in a county vehicle, and someone may have thought I was still in signs since I was in civilian clothing. But they are a hazard, and the team does an excellent job conducting sweeps to clear those up. So if you know somebody who's putting them out, please let them know that they're not legal, and it's costing them money to print up, and we just take them and destroy them. We have our boat rescue activities that are going on for derelict vehicles. We have our ATV training, and not only are they training, say for instance with Clove Park, they're doing trespassing enforcement, and you can't get to some of those areas with regular vehicles. So they are getting out there and keeping people off the property and trespassing and dumping on county parks. So they're doing a great job, and I want to commend the team, the ATV team, for their training and being able to get out there. We're also doing an intensive effort with car dealerships around the County Road 19 area, and going really car dealership to car dealership. First of all, making sure they are a legal dealership and they have all their paperwork. If they have an approved plan, that everything's in accordance with that plan. And if not, how do we work with them to get them there? But one of the things I want to stress about code enforcement is we are looking for compliance. We're not punitive. We're really trying to educate people and get compliance. So the team is doing an outstanding job with regard to that. I want to talk about our communication team that we've developed here in the Development Services Branch. They're helping us get out the word, not only to the branch, but anyone who's interested. We've got a new branch quarterly newsletter that is going out. We've developed in programs called like Good Deeds, employee recognition programs where, you know, individuals can recognize not only team members within the branch, and that's across, you know, departments, but also outside of the branch that are doing good things. And we have amassed some little gifts after you collect so many Good Deed awards that you can come in and select a gift from that branch. And we have everything from sippy cups to mouse pads. And one of the team members said, Sally, can we get some books? And I said, get me a list and I'll buy some books so that we can have some books in there. But it's a way to let people know in a very small way how much we appreciate what they're doing. You're going to see our intranet it's got a new face. We've redesigned that. We're making it more informational heavy for our branch and keeping them informed of what's going on, not only in the branch, but outside the branch as well. And you can see the before and after of how everything is looking. And I'd like to, you know, commend the team because our goal is to spread the word. Because I also say, if you allow people to create your narrative, they say what they want. But if you create the narrative and keep pushing out the narrative, it will drown out the narrative that is not supportive of what you do. Now let's talk about some people. I'd like to spotlight one of our building inspectors, and that's Steve, for some of his recognition from our customers. All too often we see negative things, but it's nice. We receive just as many comments from our citizens about amazing service, and talked about how he was able to shift his schedule to help an individual make a commitment to their personal needs while still doing his job in a professional way. So kudos to Steve for that. Also, we want to recognize our next spotlight is on 5 team members that graduated from the class of 2020 Leadership Development Program, and that's Patty and Whitney, and also Mar and Joel and Robert. They completed this program, and now we're going to find ways to help them take what they've learned and help parlay it on to other team members who may not have had an opportunity to participate in the program, but can provide some snippets to other team members that can help them. Next, our spotlight is on Miss Vanessa. Miss Vanessa is our permit technician supervisor, and she's an outstanding team member. But beyond just being a great team member, she was spotlighted by not even someone within our BOCC organization, but as a part of the Pasco County tax collector, recognized her for her work with Healthy Start Coalition. And she's been doing it for about 4 years. And it's where she, you know, works with the Head Start program to help us like with our Christmas giving. And she's also involved with Hillsborough County and Making the Kids Smile program. When we talk about people, we want to make sure we recognize the whole person. And when you look at some of the things that individual team members do on their personal time, that really enhance not only their skills, but enhance them as individuals that are really in tune to customer service. This is so important, and we'd like to thank Vanessa for her contribution. When we talk about purpose, it's important that we also put out information that is available on what's going on within our branch and what services we're providing. So this chart kind of gives you an overview of some of the important things, like right now, during 2020, we conducted over almost 300,000 inspections by our inspection team. And also when we talk about contractor licensing, some of you may not know, but we pay for 2 Pasco County Sheriff's officers to look at our contractors licensing and look at people who are not working with licensing. And they dealt with over 39 cases during 2020. Building permitting, boy, oh boy. We have charted beyond with those services, and the number of permits that are being processed in the department. One of the things I want to thank the team for is we are so inundated with permits that we kind of asked the team to work overtime and come up with creative ways to help us get through the process. And in January, they processed almost 900 new single-family residential permits for that time period. And we're catching up with our backlog, and they're continuing those efforts. And I can't thank them enough for everything that they're doing there. Our Office of Economic Development is killing it with job creation, with over 4,000 jobs created last year. Now, those jobs haven't come online because those projects we talked about earlier, they're associated with that. So they're coming online. So if you have some friends that need jobs, let them know something is on the horizon. Code enforcement, again, their numbers kind of stayed the same or went down in some instances because of COVID, but they have continued to be very active in addressing code enforcement, and it's more proactive and reactive. We do have some reactive things that are going on, so kudos to them. When we talk about current planning and planning and development, in a sense, all those building permits that are being issued are tied to projects that they're bringing online. And they brought in over 200, almost 300 permitting developments in the community that we're now permitting. So I just wanted to talk about those things again to let you know some of the activities. If you're interested, this chart is going to be, it's on our intranet so that you can know what's going on and share with people in the community if they have questions about what we're doing and some of the numbers that we're dealing with. Now, I'd like to share with you again our appreciation.
Video's not going to play,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Well, we had a really super nice video that we had for our team members to say thank you. So please feel free to go to our intranet and look at that video because it is important to say thank you. And I want to thank Dan and our chairman, Chairman Oakley, for participating in that. It meant a lot to the team members just to have the leadership team and their supervisors and other team members just say thank you. So thank you.
All right, thank you for that update. Kathy, you're up.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Kathy Pearson, Public Services. I just want to start off by saying congratulations to everyone for being the top workplace for 2021. And really, it's a big thank you to all of you. It's not because of us in this room, it's because of you. You all made that happen. So thank you so much for that. The second thing before I go into the the divisions is, on the citizen survey, I want to highlight that there was a slide called quality of these most essential services. And outside law enforcement, fire, rescue, emergency medical, I wanted to highlight road maintenance, veterans, public transportation, human services, Meals on Wheels, Parks and Rec, code enforcement, libraries, animal services, and cooperative extension. Citizens do notice you and do care. So thank you for doing that also. So we're going to start off with animal services. Get that slide up.
Sorry. There we go.
Okay, Pasco Animal Services, they continue to be dominant in their field. They are becoming nationally known. They just won the National Animal Care and Control Association Award. Michael Northrop, this is for the nation, was named Animal Control Officer of the Year. And Pet Supervisor Gina Bonicello named Animal Welfare Professional of the Year. Our animal shelter became runner-up nationally, so they're continuing to do over 90% live release. Gina and Shelter Supervisor Jesse Avery was also named our branch awards for Performer of the Year and Star of the Year. They had an unbelievable microchip event held on February 6th. It was at the fairgrounds, and over 116 pets were microchipped. And these are a great way for lost pets to not come to the shelter. So that was super on them. Next slide would be our community development. Speaking of a national awards, community development also received a national award for their partnership with the, they received the Audrey Nelson Community Development Achievement Award. This was for their partnership with the Vincent House. The Vincent House is located on Denton, right near our Fasano shelter, and it is a concept that has been designed to help people with severe mental health illness come to this clubhouse on a daily basis to learn social skills, learn work skills, and to become a productive citizen out back into the community. Whitney Elmore from our extensions is putting in a community garden as we speak. So great kudos to the community development team. They also received, I'm going to skip over to the Pasco Housing Surge, that little house there. So Pasco County received about $3.8 million to help house our homeless. And so far, their goal was to do 225 homeless in 180 days. We are at 94, a little behind our schedule, almost at 100, but we are working our way through this. And so thank you. We're partnering with the Pasco County Homeless Coalition to make this happen. And Marcy heads up the coalition for this. So there's a whole group of folks really coming together to make this housing surge happen. Coming soon, we're going to be sending out proposals for our not-for-profits. And this is for them to apply for some money, such as the Vincent House, to do some great projects in the community. And this is how Vincent House won their award last year from some of this CDBG funding. So applications for our not-for-profits are coming out on March 10th, and there'll be a committee to rank them, and hopefully we'll get some great projects coming out of that. We also, as we speak right now, and I was waiting to see the results, but I haven't gotten them yet. So we launched our Pasco Heart Program today at 9 o'clock to the first 500 folks. So not sure where we are with that. We did receive about $16.6 million. $8 million we're going to be doing in-house, and then $8 million is going to the Community Development Department, and they're going to be partnering with our not-for-profits to help folks. And what this program does is help folks with rental and utility assistance for up to 12 to 15 months. So there is an income qualification, 50%. We're going to be opening up to 80% AMI probably in the next few weeks, because there is a priority list. So some of those things that are going to be happening. And if I get a text during this meeting, we'll let you know an update on how that Pasco Heart program is. Marcy will be launching hers as soon as her agreements are done. We have 10 to 11 not-for-profits ready to go on board, but there's a little bit longer process. We have to do agreements, and they're in the process of getting out and getting back to Dan to sign. So next slide. So community services, that is also, we've got 3 components in human services. We got a human services program. They were very, very instrumental in bringing up the Pasco Communities Cares program. That was a program that the county received the $96 million, and part of that we helped over 1,900 families, distributing $5.3 million. This part of this group was part of the Pasco County Team of the Year. They also do energy assistance for our 60 years and up, and they also receive roundup funding from our Pasco Utilities Program, and we thank you for that.
There are 472.
470, oh, so Todd's just telling me there's 472 folks as we speak right now that have signed up for the Pasco Heart. So that means we got 8 more slots, or no, what? 28 more slots to go. So hopefully we will get that going and get those folks the help that they certainly need. The other thing that they worked with was Human Services. They worked with the not-for-profit agencies to assist in the COVID-19, and their dollar amount was over close to 4.5 million on that. The other part that makes up community services, next slide, would be the senior services program. So because our senior centers are still closed due to COVID, we did have a program, which the funding has run out, that ended on 12/31, was our dining out at home program. And so what we did was we partnered with restaurants and catering services, and they actually provided meals to our seniors, which was created 67,000 meals. We are still continuing to do our seniors meals drive-through program. So instead of coming to the center, they're driving through. As you can see, our teammates are making it fun down there. They're doing bingo games and all sorts of fun things when the folks come up to meet. Our seniors are definitely lacking that having isolation and depression, and we want to make sure when they do come that we're making it still fun for them. We also have, during the 2020, we provided 315,000 meals for food insecure seniors in Pasco County, and we're hearing through the grapevine that more money will be coming for our seniors. So hopefully we can help enhance and maybe get this dining out at home program back up in business. So stay tuned for that. Thank you, team, for that. And the last of the group is, so we have UF Extensions. So UF Extensions, headed by Dr. Whitney Elmore, they've continued to do lots of virtual education classes. 3,200 children and adults reached with nutrition education. They have numerous community garden plots, have been a huge success in our county, over 80 plots. They hosted the statewide Florida Cattlemen's Conference. I know they're being a big part of the fair that's going on right now. They're holding lectures on the grass, and you can see the website there if you're interested in any calendar of events that might be interested in. They pesticide licensing training, which created 10 new jobs. And then Whitney and her team not only do what their own programs have, but they like to reach out to the community. As I told you last time, she has the Luggage for Love program. Well, now this time they collected 700 pounds of peanut butter for food pantry donations. Thank you for those who had contributed. The next page you'll see all the peanut butter that was contributed, a desperate need for our food pantries. Let's go next to our Florida Sports Coast. Florida Sports Coast, known as tourism, known as destination management organization, has taken a big hit with the COVID-19. They are funded strictly 100% by bed tax, hotel bed tax. So that's where their money comes. So as you can see, hotel stays have gone down, their funding has gone down. But fortunately, they have made the best of the worst situation, and they continue to market our place, and have come up with some significant programs that are going to help bring tourists back into our area, which we're slowly starting to see. They also received $400,000 of CARE funding, which really helped market and keep them back on their feet. Some of their PR update on the next page is they have Escape Adventure campaign giveaway. They're working with brewery company, Escape Brewery Company. DMO launched a special giveaway on social media. They have their own beer, Florida Sports Coast beer. So there's a picture of it there, and get a hold of them if you want to try some out, and they've got plenty of it. Don't ask Dan his opinion on it. They also are doing a virtual Kumquat Festival. We've partnered with Dade City Kumquat Festival, vendors, growers, and so that's going to be virtual. And that's pretty much it with our tourism folks. Libraries update. Boy, we got a lot of things going on in libraries. Thank you to the GO bond. We are definitely doing library models. Thank you to our facilities department for being a big instrument in getting that worked on. Centennial and New River are going to be opening hopefully by April, back into that. And I think our next two ones will be Southgate and Dade City. So hopefully we'll get those two under construction here very soon. But each branch will have new technology. They have new maker spaces. The loft at Centennial Park will have a studio, art center, and Discovery Garden will have multi-sensory gardens, seasonal paintings of community garden beds. And both are hopefully opening up in April of 21. If you haven't been out to Starkey Ranch, there, the Library Cultural Center, which is TLC, that is progressing unbelievable. I had the privilege of going out and seeing that a few weeks ago. It'll have a 250 theater, which is going to be unbelievable. It is a public-private partnership with the Starkey Development, Starkey Ranch, and the school. There's going to be a kindergarten through 8 school there. They're going to have 3 maker spaces devoted to ceramics with kiln and 2 pottery wheels, and the opening date on that is summer of 2021. On the horizon, if you've been paying attention to the board meetings, we are also looking to open up a new library in the Wesley Chapel area, which has been very much, people have been very vocal about wanting a library out there, and we have picked the location at Seven Oaks. The county had land out there, so we're looking for design efforts to begin later this year, and hopefully 2 to 3 years we will have another new library adjacent to Seven Oaks Elementary School on Mystic Oak Boulevard. So I saw the preliminary designs for that, and it is just spectacular. County Parks and Recreation, they have been very, very busy. So they have their new Wesley Chapel District Park, which is going to be opening August of 2021. The Starkey District Park, which is very close to the Starkey TLC Library. They have 4 more softball fields and concession building coming up on September 2001, phase 2, and phase 3 to include 6 more rectangles and another concession stand. They're partnering with the Dade City Armory Community Recreation. They're going to be starting to do some programming. Some are using historic Armory Gymnasium. They are doing a brand new Pasco outdoor adventure program coming soon. Camping, hiking, nature photography, fishing, kayaking, archery, biking, and much, much more. So they have done a little bit of that with the kids, and it's become so successful. They're going to spread their wings and do more with the adults and kids for that. So that's really pretty cool. We are in the planning stages of a special needs playground. As most of you know, we have one over in the east side of the county. Commissioner Fitzpatrick has made it a passion to have something of that sort on the west side of the county. We have picked a location. We are working on hopefully applying for some CDBG funding to help make that happen. And so we're looking at Lake Lisa for that, and also a community garden. Whitney, if you don't know, if you're listening, that was also included. That was as of yesterday. So Sun West build out, we've got 2 pavilions, cabanas, walking trail, food and beverage service, northern parking lot paving, small boat and kayak launch. Beautiful facility that has come up. We're working with hopefully having some volleyball out there soon. Wiregrass Sports Complex, construction starting soon to include 5 new multi-purpose fields and some more amenities out there. Anclo River Park and the site and planning permitting stage, along with food and beverage. There'll be a request for proposals for somebody to run that coming out in 2021. We have 2 new parks planned at 2 Rivers, Connerton, Magnolia Valley, Winfields Village of Pasadena, Bexley, Project Author, and Bailey's Bluff. They have a traveling disc golf series at 6 different parks that has become a huge sport. Community garden at LC Logan under construction with the extension office, and partnership with libraries on gaming network, mobile maker spaces and parks, story walks at parks, and future story time in the parks. So thank you, parks, you're rocking. PCPT, thank you, number 1, to our bus drivers who have been never skipped a beat with the COVID-19. They were coming up to a year, and they have kept the wheels on the bus for our citizens, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart on that. They have a new paratransit software coming up that's supposed to be going live next week, February 26th. With this new paratransit, people are going to know exactly where their bus is. They're going to be able to see on real-time bus location. They can schedule trips online. Hopefully, if this works, we're going to go to our fixed route soon. COVID-19 response, they want to just mention 1.3 million trips during the pandemic, more frequent services on busiest routes, employee temperature checks are being taken daily, vehicles are being sanitized inside and out, face masks are required on the bus, free face masks are available for riders, and adding driver barrier doors spring 2021. So thank you to our PCPT team. Next is our grants and fiscal services. So this is under support services. And just wanted to mention that this group, I don't know how we would have managed all of the CARES dollars without this group being by our side, and to add to Eric's group. So not only public services fiscal, but internal services fiscal. Thank you for being by our side to make sure that our dollars were being spent correctly, that we had all the paperwork available. And as you can see, they've approximately $5.7 million to help with the not-for-profits CARES, and that was a program that helped our not-for-profits get reimbursed for PPP and PPEs and meals and other expenses. We had 50 agencies with 34 different agencies, some with multiple contracts for a total of 5.7. They assisted in the Citizens CARES Assistance Program, 1,900 applications reviewed, over 4,000 payments processed for a total of 5.3 million in need. And they assisted with the Community Development CARES also in their program, and they were part of recognized as the Team of the Year. And that's on top of what their normal jobs were with our normal grants. So thank you, fiscal team. Our veterans, boy, they really popped up on the essential services. Thank you to Damien and his group for getting the word out. They are no longer the best kept secret in Pasco County. They are the best veterans group. And so partnered with Lowe's to provide 14 holiday meals. They've also have Army veterans with multiple disabilities was awarded 100% compensation of over $3,000 a month and lifetime VA medical care. A homeless veteran was awarded 100% compensation. This was a homeless veteran who was now not homeless anymore, receiving $3,000 a month and was able to purchase a home. Is that wonderful? World War II veteran award pension and aid and attendance maximum amount of over $1,800 a month. These are veterans that just don't know where to go or how to tap into the services. Please, if you know a veteran out there, send them to our veteran services. They know how to break the barrier. They know what paperwork is needed. And our veterans deserve this. So please send them to all that you can. Enhance the quality of life, stimulate growth. Veterans received an estimate of $223 million. That means veterans benefits that come back into our community, that go back into our community with mortgages, rents, restaurants, all of that kind of good things. So kudos to our veteran services and thank you for changing lives. I just want to close by shouting out to our PIO team. Thank you especially to Amy and Aaron and Mike Legg from our libraries, who constantly help us get our word out, get our story out. And without all of you, we wouldn't be as successful as we are. So thank you all.
All right, thanks, Kathy. Eric, I think you're up next.
All right, while the slides are being pulled up, I'm gonna, as quickly as I can, just do a quick report out on a mixture of what's been happening in the branch, and also highlight some new items in the branch that particularly those that will have enterprise-wide impacts or will have enterprise-wide impacts. You know, a lot of the things we do in internal services fall in the category of routine work. I put them in the category of you don't notice them until they don't work. And so, you know, some of the things I'm going to touch on are just reporting out on some of the consistent good work that the branch departments have been doing. And I'll start with 911. You know, the slide says greater than 90% of the calls answer within 10 seconds for 13 months in a row. I'll tell you that department's been exceeding that 90%. 90% is the minimum that they considered, and they've been doing all this while maintaining with a high compliance and quality of call assistance for the citizens. You know, shifting to HR, they've really been consumed with hiring activities as the economy's changed. A lot of people looking in the labor market looking for work. They've seen a significant increase in the number, not just the number of applications, but the number of positions that they're trying to fill. All the while doing that while providing myriad of support to various different departments on what do I do now that you know, a spouse of an employee's tested positive, or their kids have, or even an employee's testing positive, and how to handle each each one of those situations is different. And talking about COVID-19, emergency management, they began vaccination operations mid-December and really haven't stopped since. They're neck deep into that, not only supporting our local Department of Health sites, but they're running an all hazards incident management team for the region, to where, that emergency management group, upwards of 50 to 90 nurses every day get missions and go out and around the region and vaccinate citizens. On the county employee side, we're approaching I think yesterday we ticked over 500 employees have at least had their first shot in one of the two vaccine offerings. While doing that, they also spearheaded the PPE reimbursement program that was funded by the CARES money. They received over 600 applications, processed those, and was able to help out local businesses to the tune of over $150,000 to help them with offset some of the costs that they unexpectedly had due to COVID. And finally, oh, by the way, those 4 storms listed at the bottom, Hermine, Irma, Ada, and Michael, they're still working on reimbursement and mitigation with FEMA for that. So, that's some of the routine stuff that may not make the press, but it's still important and keeps going. Next slide, please.
Sorry, skipped over.
Yeah, you skipped one. All right, let's skip over IT. So IT, they're in the middle of two-factor authentication deployment. That's a security feature that I've subjected my branch to the initial work out the bug stage, but that's to access the network from a remote location. All county employees will need this by the middle of this year. While doing that, they've upgraded a couple of park sites with full network capability. Great service that is long overdue and been needed. And also streamline their customer support functions. They've reorganized into 2 teams. One is a service desk team and one's a deployment services team. And I bolded on the slide there, the service desk team now starts at 7 a.m. Previously it was an 8 to 5 operation, and they've added the capability for after-hour services. IT's really realized, with a lot of folks working virtually or remotely, that they need to rethink how they're doing their customer support functions, and they've done that. To better support the organization. Some of you may have heard last week the city of Oldsmar had a pretty big cybersecurity scare with one of their water treatment plants. We had something not quite to that extent here, but a cybersecurity potential issue at the solid waste facility. And so IT is got involved, fully cut over and installed some new firewall equipment and took offline very quickly to prevent any damage to our solid waste operations. But we're not immune to that here. And that in this world, those attacks are going to continue in the future. And so our team's cybersecurity posture is really robust. And finally, they're working on piloting a Windows 10 non-persistent virtual desktop. And so to me, that means, as not an IT guy, and I'll try and put it in layman's terms, is a new way of accessing the network without having to have the hardware installed on your computer, to still be able to use the Office suite and all the programs without having it remote or locally installed on your machines. And so they're working on that. Ideally, if it pans out, we may see a shift to a Windows 10 version instead of today's use of Citrix. Next slide. In budget, they spent the last several months really robust behind the scenes, getting prepared for rolling out the OpenGo software that a lot of you may have seen during the budget, and they're knee deep into the budget development process. They've had kickoff events, been working on targets and working with departments. But what you may not have seen is that they've also been working on some financing items for the county. Just this morning, that first item, the $100 million bond for the Sun Lake Boulevard extension, that's on sale, I think right now. And we hope to get some good interest rates on that, but they've been key to leading that effort for the county. And then also 3 of the 4 general obligation bonds are in some shape, form, or fashion of going to get their second issuance of funding to continue those projects going. So, in addition to, a lot of folks see OMB is developing the budget annually for the organization. They're also involved with some pretty big picture financing items to help not only county government, but the citizens. Next slide, please. So last time we had one of these town halls, I reported out that their purchasing is working on a procurement and contract management system. It may not surprise, or it may surprise some of you, that purchasing is not immune to the procurement challenges that the rest of the organization has. And so they're still working through that. It's coming soon. A couple other things that they're working on is shifting their vendor workshops to a virtual environment to conduct in 2021, and also developing some targeted training from the introductory purchasing 101 course that will help inform the heavy user departments of various purchasing aspects. And so more to follow the rest of the year. Also looking forward, Fleet is running on a couple of separate information systems. They've awarded an agreement and started the initial development or fielding of a comprehensive fleet information management system, targeted to be finished at the end of this year. It will result in some increased visibility of not only asset management in the fleet arena, but will reduce today's number of manual transactions and actions that occur in reconciling things like fuel billing and other items. So look forward to that towards the end of this year. It'll really have an impact. Finally, they're working with facilities and finished their design for a new complex, new garage out at the Galen Wilson complex over by PCPT. And we'll be moving forward into construction towards the end of this year on that. On fiscal services, Kathy stole my thunder a little bit on some of the CARES money, but I wanted to highlight and some of the efforts they've been doing, but I wanted to highlight a couple of things that they've been doing that the organization may not see. They've been heavy involved in integrating the clerk's office employees, all 330-ish or so of them, into Munis so that they can operate and save money and not pay a third-party vendor for their payroll and HR functions. And so for what that means is they're able to access and have the ESS, employee self-service functions in Munis instead of I think they're using a vendor named ADP before. And just this week, they've behind the scenes have been working on standardized codes on the financial side of Munis to really streamline and standardize how information is input to the system, Munis system, so that we can extract it and use it to better target where we need to provide additional trainings and education for the workforce. And so I know that got kicked off this week. Last department I want to highlight is facilities. You know, for those of you who may not know, Congressman Bill Rackus is now a tenant in our government center. His local offices are inside the West Pasco Government Center. Last time I reported out that we were working to purchase the Rasmussen building on this campus. That agreement's been entered into, and they're moving towards closing documents. I believe they close somewhere near the end of this month, maybe first part of March. And then we'll move forward with renovating for the sheriff and my friend to my left, Sally, and some of her team. And last week at the board meeting, an update to the facilities master plan was awarded. So all departments will see some activity on that coming soon. That will really set the course for the facilities footprint for the county for the next 5 to 10 years. You know, and while this is going on in the routine business category, I just want to highlight that their operations team, you know, last month completed over 2,500 work orders, and that's kind of average. So that falls into the category if you don't notice it until it's not working. But just, you know, impressive job by those guys. They continue to amaze me day in and day out. And I'll wrap up with some photographs of some of the construction efforts that they're involved with. And, you know, the first one is New River Library. Kathy again stole my thunder a little bit. That picture on the right was on her slides, but I've got a couple of other photos to show how progress is proceeding in the building. It's about 95% complete. Should be done in the next month or so. You're skipping ahead on me there, Todd. Next library is Centennial Library. Is that a clue to speed up? That's about 85% complete. The top right photo is the photo I showed last time. The left photo is progress. You can see the ceiling grid installed, storefronts, and paint on the walls. That's also going to finish this quarter. Next slide. Wesley Chapel District Park Gym. The photo on the right is what I displayed last town hall. You can see significant progress at that facility. Now it's got a roof on it and it's closed in. This building is about 35% complete. Again, we'll open towards the end of this year. And you can also notice the skate park. If you look at not the building, but look at the white square on the right on the top of the picture, and then that's the pad for the skate park for the lightning. And then now you can see that in the new picture, you can see the boards are up and it looks like a playable surface. Next photo. A couple of other, on the left is the Burks Park concession building, and on the right is internal services building with traffic ops in the new fleet area. Burks Park, they're just getting started. You can see they've finished the site work. And on the 525 building downstairs, they're about 50% complete. They're working on interior framing, rough installs. Looking forward to new home for traffic management and fleet when that gets finished. Next slide. All the while, all that good work is going on out in the field. Facility has also been, full speed ahead with design development for the jail expansion. These are a couple of the elevations, or a drawing showing some of the elevations in the new proposed facility. We should receive the pre-final guaranteed maximum price numbers this week, and hopefully in the next month or so, we'll be under a construction agreement with the CM at risk firm to press forward, finish design, and start breaking ground on that. Next slide. Finally, I'll wrap up with something you may not have noticed around a couple of sites around the campus. We've had some electric vehicle charging stations installed. This picture here is at the West Pasco Government Center. The other two sites are the East Pasco Courthouse, Robert D. Sumner Judicial Courthouse, also known as, and then also at the historic courthouse in Dade City. We've also had some electric vehicle charging stations. So moving forward towards the green environment, and that's all I have. Mike,
All right, thanks, Mike. Kick over to Mike.
All right. So while Todd's pulling that up, I'll just echo thank you to all the staff here, everyone in the county. Special shout out to public infrastructure, of course, similar to what Eric mentioned with internal services to the public. The work that you guys do is pretty much unseen until something bad happens. So I do appreciate everything that you guys do out there. So to get started, I just want to, next slide. The first thing that I want to cover is we went ahead and surveyed the development community, and this is just an update. Public infrastructure provides horizontal type inspections, so when a development is done, be it residential or commercial, our guys are out there looking at the stormwater systems, the pavement, the utilities, etc., making sure that those necessary pieces of infrastructure are in place. So we conducted a survey of contractors, engineers, as well as developers in the marketplace that did big jobs in Pasco County and said, hey, how are we doing? Next slide. So, doing a survey like that is kind of like the IRS asking you, hey, how was your tax experience? So when I sit here and I see numbers in the mid to high threes, I'm okay with that. It means we're doing a good job. We have to be there, but there's always room for improvement. And so we're going to be getting a final report on this in the next 30 days. I've got my program administrators going to be working around. We're looking at some process improvements because there's always things that we can do to tweak and make things better, especially when it comes to communications and those types of things. But more to come on that. Again, this is just part of being a learning organization and growing and better serving our community, including those that put the infrastructure in that we eventually take over to maintain. Next slide, please. So real quick, some quick hitters from solid waste. I drove out there the other day and the scale house was obliterated. So we are making progress out there, updating our scales and our scale house and the facilities that our folks work in. They've got some temporary scales up right now, moving those trucks across. We've seen a 6,000 truckload increase in the past 5 years of solid waste in this county, and so we are growing, and garbage is a good indicator of that. The East Pasco transfer station, in a similar vein, we've outgrown that facility as well, and so with all the development out in the Wesley Chapel area, that group will continue to be able to provide services for years to come. Our injection well, which is for our ash monofil leachate, which is essentially salty water. We continue to drill and drill and drill to find an injection zone for that. That's going to actually save us probably $500,000 to $1 million a year by being able to take that salt water and basically put it in salt water. Net metering, a local bill. For those of you that don't know, we are putting forward a local bill here that would apply only to Pasco County that would allow us to net meter the power we produce at our power plant. So we do run a power plant, for those that did not know that, and that it burns garbage and turns it into electricity. And right now we have a great deal with Duke Energy, but that great deal expires in a few years, and so we need to find a way to make sure that we lessen the financial impact to our citizens, and that's what this local bill will help do. And of course, our recycling and Keep Pasco Beautiful folks out there doing great events, celebrating Arbor Day, supporting the big shred that you've heard the clerk talk about, and even promoted awareness over at a local blues festival. So well done to that team. Next slide, please. On the utilities front, our customer services folks are trying to make it easy for us to get paid. We had some software limitations that limited us to credit card transactions to $500. So essentially, it's kind of like when I go fill up my tank. When gas prices are high, I got to double swipe. So that's we're trying to eliminate that. And so hopefully when we get a new vendor, we'll have a lot of those restrictions gone, but they've managed to triple it, which makes a big deal because most of those transactions are in about the $1,200 range. And so that really will help us make things easier on our customers and easier on us, and again, getting paid. Utilities, the engineering contract management group has been working feverishly with members of the development community on standards. We've rather than be dictatorial about that, we want to make sure that we're putting forward materials that make sense both for our ratepayers who foot the cost of maintenance, as well as our developers who foot the cost of installation, and making sure that it's things that we can live with. So it's been a long process, but there's been a lot of consensus building and working together on putting that together. So well done to that team. Next slide, please. Out in the field, our operations and maintenance department continues what we'll call our strategic flushing program. So we have a water quality protection team. And for those of you that don't know, flushing water out of a water system is a necessary thing. Water is a perishable product. If it sits in the pipe for any longer than 7 days, more or less, you actually can see it can actually become a hazard more than a healthy thing. So our team is out there, but they're using data-driven approaches. They're looking at trends. They're looking at GIS data and trying to make sure that they pinpoint when and where they do the flushing in order to maximize the return, because that's non-revenue generating water. We pay on average $2.60 per 1,000 gallons, and we see nothing else in return for that when we have to blow that water out. And so their efforts so far have saved us over 4 million gallons just in January alone. So that's 4 million less than what we would have normally flushed. We still flush a lot of water, but we're hoping to hit that target of less than 10% of water loss to include flushing by 2025. Next slide, please. Eric talked about this as well, and I wanted to mention it here. So City of Oldsmar, again, you may have heard that somebody got into their system and they increased the dose of what's called caustic soda, which is increases the pH and in mass quantities could be a problem. Question I always get is, could that happen here in Pasco County? And again, we've worked with our IT folks, and you never say never, but I would say that the situations in Oldsmar, highly unlikely. However, shout out to IT. They jumped on this with our guys. We did work with Department of Homeland Security, went through, did some great threat analysis and things, and we feel pretty confident in the safety, the cybersecurity of our water system. Mr. Harris told me I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this, that this is relevant to our Sterling journey. Next slide, please. Because it's actually in the book where we talk about security and cybersecurity of key assets. And so your water and wastewater systems are key assets. So again, tying this into Sterling, it's what we do. Next slide, please. Our folks over in engineering services and project management continue to plug away at Ridge Road. For those of you that have kids that go to River Ridge High and middle school, that road is connected to there. That's done a phenomenal job of alleviating a lot of the traffic congestion and jams that come with normal drop-off and delivery there of students. And again, it was the first phase, but we continue to pave, we continue to build. In fact, the team just finished an exhaustive negotiation with the Turnpike Enterprise and working with our development partners to make sure that we can actually get the interchange built with the Suncoast Parkway. And so if everything continues according to plan, we should be able to put traffic on that this summer. So next slide, please. And again, we talk about interdepartmental, interagency, cross coordination and work. The roundabout over at Beacon Woods is a prime example of that. This is where the county worked with Walmart. We worked with the state and FDOT, as well as within our survey, Public Works, Project Management, Traffic Ops. And I'm sure we had folks from real estate and other groups, County Attorney's Office, working together to help improve what was quite honestly a very dangerous intersection out there at US 19 near Beacon Woods. So kudos to the team for working together to provide a solution that quite honestly is in the best interest of all the parties that were involved. So well done. Next slide, please. So trails. We continue to add trails. A beautiful trail out there at the Coastal Anclote Trail was just completed. Again, adding to that thriving community and providing great recreational opportunities to our citizens. Just a well done, well thought out, well managed, put together project. So thank you for that. On the public works side, next slide. Our team continues to trudge along doing maintenance projects that provide a great return on investment to our citizens. Over in Gulf Highlands, again, you see our guys out there doing a pipe replacement. You know, a lot of times when we get these, thanks Siri, we get these pipe replacements. You know, our guys are out there. We're not only just replacing the stuff that's falling apart. You know, a lot of these things were put in when stormwater requirements were different. So we're making improvements too. So with the help of our engineering team members within Public Works, they're looking to say, hey, well, we probably need to make this pipe bigger, or hey, we need to add treatment here, or hey, we need to build and replace and let's fix the sidewalk while we're here. You know, those are the types of things that when we go in and make a disturbance and do a project, we're trying to get as many things done as we can in there. So next slide, please. Another project with some culvert replacements along 8th Avenue and Zephyr Hills. Again, you can see the before and the after. Much improved conveyance, much improved look, and so well done to our team members for handling that. On the paving front, we continue to invest money, and our citizens are seeing it by repaving roads that need it. You can see here County Line Road. This is County Line Road South. Was just recently repaved, and the speeding complaints increased once we got it paved. So good job. The Coit Road out east was repaved, and that was part of an economic development project as well. So working with our folks over in development services to make sure that we can bring good infrastructure to businesses so they can continue to promote industry, bring jobs to folks that need them. And of course, at the end, Public Works has hopped on Instagram. So don't tell your kids, because now it's not cool anymore. We are on there working with the PIO to make sure that we're telling our story, we're getting the information out, and conveying the value that we provide, as well as getting critical information. Just again, it's another platform, but we're happy that our folks are out there reaching out. I'm done.
Wow.
If I had to, I'd track everybody's time.
Worn out after that. So as Todd's pulling up some slides, as a reminder, if you have any questions for anybody in the group, throw them into the chat. Throw them into the chat window, and we'll get to them once I get through a quick update on COVID, the pandemic, and then a couple other points that I want to talk about. First, again, I want to echo the thanks to the team. You see the little badge on the bottom left corner of the slide, and I think we've seen that in different parts of the slide. We'll figure out where the right place to put that is eventually. Of course, we need to figure out where to put two, because there should be another one being announced here within the next little over 4 weeks. So, but that doesn't happen without the frontline supervisors and the mid-level manager is really buying into the leadership philosophy of the team and making sure that we're taking care of our people so they can do their job. That's how that happens. It doesn't happen with those in this room that have kind of briefed you for the last hour and a half of all the wonderful things happening in Pasco County. With that, this is a health department chart. Moving in the right direction, still a long way to go on cases, still above 100 a day, but our percentage is below 10. It was above 10 for a while. So we're kind of coming down, hopefully the backside of the curve. Go to the next slide, Todd. I'll flip through these pretty quickly. This is a long chart from the Department of Health from the beginning of the pandemic, or in the June timeframe. You see the first peak in the summer, and you can kind of see where we are on the back end of the peak. Note the Super Bowl at the back end of that, and we may start seeing some cases because of community gatherings at that, kind of like what we did after Thanksgiving and Christmas and everything else. So hopefully we'll continue to track down, but we got a little ways to go on that. So next, again, 7-day running average. You see the two peaks. The orange is the percent positive by day, and on the 7-day average, and the blue is the number of cases per day on a 7-day average. And again, the peak in the winter was significantly larger, both numbers of cases, total volume of cases, than the peak in June, July, which leads me to the next slide, which is really, we didn't see a major impact in our hospitals. This is the last 8 weeks, so middle of December to middle of February. You can kind of see, in general, we stayed below the 15% of total beds in our hospital system in Pasco County. And really, other than a small time right early in January, we're below 20% in ICU. And today we're under 10% in ICU and around 5% in total beds. So, every case that ends up in a hospital is, serious to the families involved, including our employees that have ended up there from time to time. And, we take those seriously, but as an overall condition of where we are, the medical community has learned a lot in 9 months, 10 months, and we are seeing much better outcomes today than we did with the June, July peak and spike. So wanted to hit that real quick. And then on the next slide is kind of the vaccine summary. I highlighted the section there. This is Pasco County, that we are now approaching 30%, or a third of our 65 plus population in Pasco being vaccinated. They'll probably hit that this week or next week. And total people vaccinated with at least one shot is right under 10% of the total population in Pasco County. So considering we started at 0 less than 8 weeks ago, and are now at 10% of the county having at least one shot or at least one dose, which is about 40% more than the total number of cases we've had in Pasco County in 10 months. I think the health department, the medical community, or the IMT team down working through our EM group is doing an amazing job in and around the county, getting the vaccine into arms without wasting one single dose due to expiration. And I know that Andy's team stays pretty busy about 3 o'clock in the afternoon with red, fire alarms, because they get expired doses, and we want to make sure we get them in arms. And so we are working through that, and that's what's led to almost 500 county employees have been at least one dose so far. So that's positive. So just wanted to go through that real quickly. They're continuing to get doses in. We're starting to see pharmacies come on board. Publix has been on board for maybe 2 weeks now in Pasco County. And Winn-Dixie and Walmart are now offering shots, and I think we'll start seeing other pharmacies come on board, and those are coming down through a different channel, which means they're not coming out of the total allocation the health department's getting from the state, or what the state IMT team is getting for the 55 plus community. So a lot of good stuff happening on that, and hopefully here in the next 6 to 8 weeks, we'll be in a much better position with respect to the pandemic. With respect to that, I want to talk a little bit about remote work or work from home. There are departments that have performed extraordinarily well in that environment, and we will probably keep them in that environment. I don't want to say forever, because technology changes, but for the foreseeable future, they may not come back into the office for a long time. There are other departments that are working on a modified schedule where they spend 4 days at home and 1 day in the office, or 3-2 or whatever. And so we're driving those based on really the operational requirement, operational efficiency, level of service, and also making sure we keep our people safe. So that all that goes into the mix so that a department director or a manager of a group can make an adjustment or call to their operational situation based on what they need to do to make sure we're still performing the level of service we need, both internal and external to the community, but also making sure we maintain and keep our people safe while we're doing it. And I understand there are people out there from the whole spectrum, from bulletproof, like we all were when we were 18, to if I walk out my front door, I'm going to die. And so we got to make sure we understand that with all 3,000 employees and manage that, but at the same time, we're going to support our directors with the calls they need to make with respect to operational efficiency in doing this. So you may see one department operating differently than the other department. That's really because of the needs of that group and what they need to do and how it works remotely versus not remotely. So you'll continue to see that. And so not all work is the same, not all efforts are the same. And so that will be different throughout the organization, throughout the enterprise. So wanted to kind of talk about that, through that a little bit, and make sure everybody understands. Part of the facilities master plan update is going to look at hoteling and what do we do from a hoteling perspective. And some departments may never come back in totally. They may not have office space in 24 months. Other departments may just have a place to land so that somebody comes in that 1 day a week, they can plug in and work, whereas they're working from home or working remotely the rest of the time. So working through all that, and that will continue to evolve and flex, and whether COVID's going to be with us for forever. It's just a matter of how well we manage it, just like we manage the flu and every other sickness that's out there. So I wanted to kind of talk through that real quick. Todd, what are our questions? None? Do you have any questions for the group?
Somebody texted me and I asked them to text it through
We
the
can
line.
ask
Can
it.
I ask this
Sure.
question? So can Dan or Eric elaborate on how surplus shots are being administered? They're getting questions from their team.
Okay. You want to?
Fair, I'll do it. I'll give an example of what happened yesterday. From time to time, and there's no predictability to it, so let me emphasize that, there's no predictability to it. But yesterday, an organization had scheduled 600 shots, and only 300 showed up, and so the Department of Health turned to Andy in EM and said, hey, help, we have 90 extra doses, help find arms for it so it doesn't go to waste. And so each branch, each department has been asked initially to provide a standby list, or what I'll call a list of employees who want to receive the vaccine through their chain of command, which has been consolidated at the EOC. And they start going down that standby list of people who are within the time constraints of the dose, whatever doses they have to keep them from expiring. And so in the case of yesterday, a couple of the time constraint was more than two. Usually it's about 90 minutes to 2 hours that we have to work with. It was more like 6 or 8 hours. And so public services and public infrastructure started calling down to some folks in their branches that are not within 10 or 15 minutes of the government center campus to provide the opportunity for them to get to the EOC. And so really it's a matter of, if you want the vaccine, get it through your chain of command to get on a standby list. When extra doses happen, again, I'll stress there's no predictability to it. EM starts going down the standby list and making phone calls, and it's first come, first serve, and there's no predictability and no guarantee you'll ever get called for a shot. But we are approaching this from the mission of do not let any doses go to waste. And so they're just, that's really the process. It's not much more complicated than that.
So like yesterday we had 90. A few weeks ago, I think we were close to 100 one day, but most days, if we get them, it's in the single to low double digit range of what we get. It's not a large group like it was yesterday. And as Eric said, we only usually get about 90 minutes worth of warning that we're going to get that. So.
Right. And so I would like to emphasize that if you are if you are a county employee and you do get the call is for you, because we're working on a standby list for other county employees. It's not necessarily for your neighbors or members of your family, so don't bring them to the EOC, because Andy will turn them away and they'll waste their time getting there. So,
Follow-up question. Is there a guarantee of the required follow-up shot if there is no guarantee of the supply?
yes. So if you get the first shot, you get registered in the state, what ironically called SHOTS database, which you've been paying attention to the state of Florida, that they've been taking some negative press about getting vaccine doses out because the state is withholding enough supply to be able to hit the second dose for those that have received the first. So once you get registered into the state database, which happens the minute you get your first shot, you will be given a time, date, place for the second shot, and you'll be recalled to the EOC to get the second one.
And those are the second doses are being scheduled through HR.
Yes, they are going to be scheduled through HR. Yep, absolutely.
So just another follow-up question. I know Dan had mentioned before, when there is enough vaccinations for the team, it will be administered. Still don't know what that time frame is, and how will that plan work when it is finally? I mean, it's just certain time schedule they'll be able to show.
Well, yeah, I mean, I expect sometime go ahead.
Pressing forward, when we do get when the supply challenges are overcome and there's plenty of supply for I don't know if it'll be before the public access gets, but we at some point are planning for a closed pod for all remaining county employees to issue the first in the series of shots, right? I don't have an answer on when that is. That's going to be driven by the supply of the medicine. So.
All right. No other questions? Anybody got questions for somebody else in the room? Put somebody on the spot, since Kathy threw me under the bus with respect to
For Sports Coast
or
Beer.
Sports Coast Beer.
I just said ask Dan how it tastes.
You said don't ask.
Oh, I said don't ask Dan how it tastes.
So Eric, they're wanting you to reiterate when we go to the pod for what I'm assuming is employees, that's not including family members.
That's
That will
correct.
just include.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yes. I mean, I think if you go back and watch how the supply challenges were solved at PPE, the curve for PPE, where we went from 0 masks to the warehouse full of masks, will be closely replicated by the amount of vaccine. The only difference is it takes much longer to develop the vaccine dose through the manufacturing process than it does to build a N95 mask through the manufacturing process. So that lag time may be a little longer than what we saw with PPE last spring. So, but yeah, I expect sometime in the next 6 to 8 weeks, we're going to have more vaccine than we know what to do with.
One could.
So,
Yeah, well, so I'll tag on to that we just got an emergency order yesterday that's going to allow EMTs, not only paramedics, but EMTs also now to be able to administer it. So we'll be able to ramp up the number of our employees that are able to give the vaccine or help give the vaccine than what we have today.
right.
Awesome.
So that'll be good.
I see there's been a big push for teachers to get it too. Have you heard any updates on that?
The governor has not said anything with respect to his prioritization list. I expect that once we get over like 50 or 60% of the 65 plus, there'll be another round of who's next. But I have not seen any hints on that. So, we'll see. I went through the math with my daughter because her in-laws got it who are significantly older than I am. And we talked about, their risk was over 1,000 times greater to have complications than her risk was just due to age and health issues. So that 65 group is the one that will make a significant impact on hospitalizations and fatalities. As you get down below that, you're in, kind of flu type numbers, if you will.
So what about the wellness centers giving the vaccine in the future?
That's constrained by supply, right? Today, you have Department of Health sites, state-run IMT teams and some commercial pharmacies, and that's really the limits of the supply. If the supply was just like going to the store and buying a loaf of bread, we'd probably have it at the wellness center, but it's just not there.
And team wants to know if this is the Pfizer or the Moderna vaccine.
Both. It really depends. There's no rhyme or reason. I think yesterday's was the Pfizer vaccine. Last week we had an exercise where it was the Moderna vaccine, and so there's no real picking and choosing which one it is.
Yeah, if you get the call, it's either
Now,
you
I'll
go
tell
with the
you,
vaccine. You go with the vaccine.
I'll tell you, it's registered in the shot system which version you get, so your follow-up will be the same as the one you had first.
And I think Johnson & Johnson is going in front of the FDA here shortly for another vaccine that is a single dose. But again, that would take a spin up on the manufacturing timeline. So, all right. So, thanks everybody. I'll just make one comment. I know we are working on the revenue projections for the board meeting to walk the board through where we are on the 9th of March. In general, we're in a pretty good position from a revenue perspective with some notable exceptions, mainly due to the impact of the pandemic on gas tax, so like public works, road maintenance, and the tourist development tax. And those are usually in specific revenue streams for specific programs. But in general, we're in pretty good shape. But again, we'll kind of see how that flows out of the rest of over the next few months. As any time, there are good signals in the economy and there are negative signals in the economy. So it kind of just depends on where you think you want to be on that. So with that, and if there are no more questions, I appreciate everybody's time. Thank you. Hopefully this was helpful in giving you an overview of what's going on across the branches. So thank you. And until next time, we will see you around.